John Brent, an American astronaut, is among a team assigned on a mission to locate fellow astronaut George Taylor, who went missing with his team after their space expedition in 1972. Brent's two-man team, composed of him and ship captain Skipper, traveled near light speed, causing them to crash land on an unknown planet. What Brent does not know is that their ship has traveled forward through time, and that they have actually landed back on Earth 2,000 years into the future. Brent and Skipper find themselves in the Forbidden Zone, the same place where Taylor's ship crashed. The Forbidden Zone looks like a wasteland of debris, and is known as the remains of what was previously New York City. Brent reads their ship's chronometer and discovers that they are in the year 3599. He goes to tend to Skipper, who has been fatally wounded by the crash, but Skipper dies soon afterwards. Meanwhile, Taylor underwent a series of hardships during his stay. As it turns out, the Earth in the distant future, specifically in the vicinity of New York City, develops into a place called Ape City, run by an advanced society of talking apes. Ape City has a strict caste system, dividing themselves into three different social classes. Gorillas are the city's military force and laborers. Orangutans supervise the government and religious affairs. Chimpanzees are the intellectuals who serve in the Ape City as doctors and scientists. The Society of the Apes have established their own state laws, and they believe in their prophet called the lawgiver. On another note, the apes consider humans as lesser species, as human beings in the year 3955 had not developed the ability to talk. They are then treated as slaves, used in scientific experiments and military training. Taylor became the sole survivor of his team after being captured by the hostile gorillas. Fortunately, Taylor is saved by a chimpanzee doctor named Zira, her husband Cornelius, and teenage nephew Lucius. While he was captured, Taylor also met a beautiful and mute woman named Nova. After escaping the Ape City, Taylor accepts that he will never return home and decides to establish a new life with Nova in a faraway place. Taylor says goodbye to Zira, Cornelia, and Lucius before riding off a horse with Nova along the shoreline. Later, Taylor and Nova reach the outskirts of the Forbidden Zone when suddenly, a tall fire barrier springs from the ground. Startled, Taylor and Nova move back, but they are attacked by flashes of lightning and crumbling ground. Taylor decides to get off the horse to investigate the strange occurrence, telling Nova to look for Zira in case something happens to him. Taylor then moves closer to the cliff wall and suddenly disappears in front of Nova. Having no other options, Nova rides away on her own. She wanders around the Forbidden Zone until she encounters Brent and their crashed ship. Brent immediately approaches Nova, hoping to know more about the place, but Nova does not answer him. He sees that Nova is wearing Taylor's dog tag and shows her his own dog tag to gain her trust. Nova still cannot communicate with Brent, but is convinced with his intentions, so she brings him along with her. Brent goes on a horse ride with Nova, thinking that she will be able to lead him to Taylor. As the two of them head to Ape City, Brent becomes startled, seeing the civilized community of apes for the first time. From a distance, the two of them observe General Ursus, the militarist leader of the gorillas, while he gathers the three caste for a meeting. General Ursus wants to further establish their power, proposing that they should take over the Forbidden Zone, which has long been closed for centuries by the ape law. He also proposes for humans to be converted as their food source, explaining that the humans will never match up to the apes' capabilities. The gorilla soldiers cheer, but the chimpanzees and the orangutans remain quiet, including Dr. Zaius, the ruling leader of the orangutans and Minister of Science. The chimpanzees and the orangutans have doubts about General Ursus' plan, but are unable to object because the gorillas hold the largest population in Ape City. While Nova watches the gathering, she recognizes Zira from the crowd. She looks at the dog tag on her neck and follows Taylor's advice in going to Zira. As Brent and Nova move closer to Ape City, a gorilla soldier spots them. They quickly run away and hide, but the gorilla soldier shoots a gun at Brent's soldier. Despite the injury, Brent and Nova narrowly escape from the soldier before he catches them. In Ape City, General Ursus and Dr. Zaius talk in the bath after the ape meeting. General Ursus has observed Dr. Zaius' objection to the idea of invading the Forbidden Zone, so he continues to persuade him. Around the same time, Zira and Cornelius are bickering on their way back home. Zira is strongly against the gorillas' plan to make humans their food source, saying that killing humans is contrary to her principles as a doctor and scientist. She believes that gorillas are cruel and brainless creatures who only use their bones. In the meantime, Brent and Nova have arrived in Zira and Cornelius' home, quietly hiding while listening to their conversation. They reveal themselves to the couple afterwards, causing Zira to be fascinated by Brent, as he is the only other human who can talk aside from Taylor. Zira and Cornelius help Brent by giving him food, new clothes, and tending to his injuries. Cornelius also brings out a map to track down Taylor's possible whereabouts. Their discussion is interrupted by Dr. Zaius, who comes knocking at their doorstep. The couple hurriedly hides Brent and Nova before letting Dr. Zaius in their home. Inside, Dr. Zaius consults Zira and Cornelius about General Ursus' speech. Dr. Zaius announces that he will be accompanying General Ursus in the invasion of the Forbidden Zone. Zira protests, but Dr. Zaius insists that it is his duty as Minister of Science to explore the Forbidden Zone and find out if other species live there. Before he leaves, Dr. Zaius asks Zira to watch over the orangutans and the chimpanzees while he is gone. Soon after, Zira and Cornelius rush to send Brent and Nova out of their home. Since only apes can speak in their world, Cornelius advises Brent to never talk if he encounters a gorilla. This is because it may cause a commotion among the gorillas, which may prompt them to dissect and kill him. Brent and Nova attempt to ride out of Ape City, but their horse is shot by the gorilla soldiers. A chase ensues between them and the gorilla soldiers, but they are quickly cornered and captured. Later that day, Brent and Nova are taken into a large cage filled with other primitive humans who are unable to speak. The next morning, the gorilla soldiers are conducting their military training. Zira, who is in the animal clinic nearby, attempts to have the two under her custody, but General Ursus tells her that they will be sent to the gorillas' training grounds to be used for target practice. Regardless, Zira helps them escape by keeping their cage unlocked, allowing Brent and Nova to run away again. Brent and Nova hijack the horses from their carriage and flee towards the Forbidden Zone, barely escaping from another group of gorilla soldiers chasing them. The two hide inside a cave, which Brent discovers to be the remains of the Queensboro Plaza station in the New York City subway. Eventually, Brent realizes that he has traveled towards Earth's dystopian future, leading to his despair and disappointment. Back in Ape City, Dr. Zaius prepares for their expedition with General Ursus. Together with the orangutans and gorilla soldiers, Dr. Zaius leads a prayer to their prophet, the lawgiver, requesting guidance against their possible enemies. As Dr. Zaius, General Ursus, and the gorilla soldiers leave Ape City, they are briefly interrupted by a group of chimpanzees. The chimpanzees peacefully protest, expressing their objections towards the apes fighting a war. On the other hand, the gorilla soldiers easily subdue the chimpanzees, detaining them for going against the plan. Right after, General Ursus leads the battalion of gorilla soldiers out of Ape City and onto the deserted lands. Some time later, Brent climbs back up to check outside the cave, only to find out that the gorilla soldiers are on patrol. He hurriedly wakes Nova from her sleep, and they begin to explore inside the cave to find another way out. At that moment, they are startled by the sound of humming voices. Brent and Nova decide to follow the sound, walking across hallways and holes. They find more remnants of the buildings in New York City along their way until they come across a large door of an old cathedral. They rush to drink water at a nearby water fountain when suddenly, Brent begins to hear voices urging him to kill Nova. Thus, Brent strangles Nova and forces her into the water while she is in the middle of drinking. Fortunately, he is able to stop himself from drowning Nova and steps away from her. Further distancing himself, Brent decides to enter the large door, where he catches sight of a man worshipping a nuclear bomb. Brent is confused seeing the man able to converse with him through telepathy. Shortly after, Brent is taken by two other men, where he meets a tribal council of cloaked humans. Like the man in the cathedral, the cloaked humans talk to Brent through telepathy. The tribal council accuses Brent of spying on them, but Brent protests that he only got into their place by accident. He tells them that he was an astronaut sent on a rescue mission, but does not know how to get back to his timeline. Brent's mind cannot handle all of their telepathic powers for too long, so the tribal council is urged to use their mouths to speak to him. Later, the tribal council reveal themselves to be mutant humans, another group of organisms who founded their own society in the underground cavern of the Forbidden Zone. The mutants possess a variety of psychic abilities, such as communicating telepathically, creating mental illusions, and using mind control to make their enemies fight against each other. The mutant humans also worship an ultimate weapon called the Alpha Omega nuclear bomb. According to Mendez XXVI, the mutant leader, the Alpha Omega bomb is their divine bomb, and they believe that it is a weapon of peace. Brent mocks them in reply, as he finds it absurd that the mutants are worshipping a bomb. He tells them that the Alpha Omega bomb is a very dangerous weapon of mass destruction. In defense, the mutant members inform Brent that they are merely using illusions, emphasizing that they are all weapons of peace. Later, the mutants learn from Brent about the arrival of the apes, who intend to start a war with them and invade the Forbidden Zone. They ask Brent to cooperate with him in the coming battle, but Brent refuses to help them. As a result, the mutant humans bring in Nova and use mind control on Brent to let him kill her. Unable to control himself, Brent strangles Nova, nearly killing her while she falls on the ground. Having knowledge of the arriving ape army, the mutant humans set up a horrifying mental illusion in an attempt to scare them away. Meanwhile, Dr. Zaius, General Ursus, and the battalion of guerrilla soldiers march into the outskirts of the Forbidden Zone. They are immediately startled upon seeing a huge wall of fire springing from the ground. Behind the wall of fire, they also find their fellow guerrilla soldiers nailed on a cross upside down, causing some of the soldiers to step back in horror. At that moment, a large statue of their lawgiver emerges behind the dying guerrilla soldiers. The statue of the lawgiver is burning and bleeding profusely, causing an uproar among the ape army. On the other hand, Dr. Zaius thinks that the bleeding statue of their lawgiver signifies that his spirit lives. He then sees through the mental illusions of the mutant humans, mistaking it as a vision. With this in mind, Dr. Zaius boldly approaches the illusion until it completely disappears before their eyes. Convinced, General Ursus and the rest of the guerrilla army advance further into the Forbidden Zone, and they again march towards the underground society of the mutant humans. The mutant tribal council, who have been observing the guerrilla battalion, become disappointed at their failed attempt to scare them. They become worried of engaging in war with them, knowing that they do not have any defenses. As a result, the tribal council decides to use the Alpha Omega bomb, the only weapon that they have. All members of the mutant humans hold a religious ceremony in their cathedral before engaging in the inevitable battle. Mendez XXVI leads the ceremony, praying in front of the bomb to ask for peace. One by one, all of the mutant humans remove their wigs and masks, revealing their real appearances before the bomb god. Brent and Nova, who have been observing the ceremony, are visibly astounded seeing the distorted faces of the mutant humans. After the ceremony, Brent is separated from Nova and is sent to a prison cell. Inside, he finds Taylor, who apparently has fallen into the trap of the mutant humans when he previously disappeared. For a while, Brent and Taylor are elated to see each other. However, they notice one of the mutants named Ongaro watching them from outside their cell. When Brent mentions to Taylor how the mutant humans forced him to kill Nova, Ongaro explains that they are peaceful beings. Ongaro then mentions that they do not actually kill their enemies, but only make their enemies kill each other. Hearing this, Brent and Taylor realize Ongaro's real intention of putting them in the same prison cell. But before they can both react, Ongaro uses his mind control over Brent and Taylor, forcing a fight between the two. Brent and Taylor try to stop themselves from fighting, but are both overpowered by Ongaro's powers. In the midst of their fight, Ongaro places a sharp weapon inside the cell, letting them use it to stab each other. As the two struggle, another mutant guard escorts Nova to another cell. She hears Taylor's name, urging her to escape from the mutant guard and follow the sound. Nova manages to find their prison cell and is shocked to see Brent and Taylor fighting before her eyes. She makes a short and deep sound, pushing herself to pronounce Taylor's name. Ongaro is suddenly distracted by the sound, causing him to lose control over Brent and Taylor. The two astronauts seize the opportunity to attack Ongaro from behind, and they kill him with a fatal stab. Afterwards, Taylor is informed about the atomic bomb that the mutant humans have been worshipping. Taylor deduces that the Alpha Omega bomb is not a common nuclear bomb. He calls it a doomsday weapon, as it is capable of destroying not only a city, but the entire planet. They then use the sharp weapon to get out of their prison cell, hoping to stop the mutant humans from activating the Alpha Omega bomb. Around the same time, the ape army enters the passage to the cave. They easily locate the entrance to the underground society, immediately shooting down every mutant human in their sight. A guerrilla soldier finds Brent, Taylor, and Nova and ambushes them on their way out. The guerrilla fatally shoots at Nova's back before Brent and Taylor could kill him. Taylor hurriedly checks on Nova, but she dies in an instant. Devastated by Nova's death, Taylor holds her in his arms until Brent reminds him of the bomb that they have to stop. In the meantime, the ape army has killed the rest of the tribal council and begun to destroy the mutant statues all over the place. General Ursus and Dr. Zaius leads the army into the cathedral, where they find the mutant leader Mendez XXVI. As Mendez XXVI raises the bomb into activation, he tells the ape army that the bomb is his god. The apes are surprised to hear the mutant leader talking, but nonetheless shoot him mercilessly. Dr. Zaius stops General Ursus from shooting the bomb, telling him that it is resistant to gunshots. Wanting to get rid of the bomb, General Ursus orders the guerrilla soldiers to bring the bomb down using a rope. On the other hand, smoke comes out of the bomb, making General Ursus and the guerrilla soldiers panic. Meanwhile, Taylor and Brent leave Nova and steal the rifle from the guerrilla soldier. The two of them sneak into the cathedral and hide behind the pillars, waiting for a chance to attack. They find General Ursus approaching the control buttons, so they create a distraction to stop him. Brent and Taylor split up on each side of the cathedral. Brent hits the nearby piano using the rifle, making a loud noise that catches the attention of the ape army. Brent shoots the rifle at General Ursa's chest, immediately killing him. He continuously shoots at the other guerrilla soldiers, but he is eventually outnumbered by them. A group of guerrilla soldiers fire at Brent all at the same time, and he lies lifeless on the ground from the countless bullets. On the other side, Taylor tries to approach the control buttons, but is heavily wounded by another guerrilla soldier in the process. Taylor walks towards Dr. Zaius and begs for his help in stopping the Alpha Omega bomb. He explains that the bomb will bring the end of the world, but Dr. Zaius does not believe him. Dr. Zaius refuses to help Taylor, expressing that man is evil and is capable of nothing but destruction. In his dying moments, Taylor announces that it is doomsday, and his body falls over to the control buttons of the Alpha Omega bomb. His hand reaches for the activation knob and ends up triggering the Alpha Omega bomb. Soon, the Doomsday Bomb detonates, eliminating all forms of life on the entire planet. Beneath the Planet of the Apes is a science fiction film released in 1970. It follows the events of the 1968 film Planet of the Apes. Much of this sequel has references to its precedent, so it is advisable to watch the Planet of the Apes beforehand. Regardless, the main plot is very interesting and easy to understand. Unlike most futuristic science fiction films that highlight technological advances, Beneath the Planet of the Apes brings focus on reflecting human origin and evolution. The film has a fair amount of action and adventure, with great graphics considering the time was released. On the other hand, it takes too long for the plot to progress due to the cuts of filler scenes. The music playing in the background of some scenes can also be distracting. Nonetheless, the Planet of the Apes franchise is among the list of notable science fiction films of all time.